All right, we're live.
Okay. Here's our opening prayer. Our Father in heaven, we thank thee for this day, and we thank thee for all the many blessings that thou hast given us. We ask thy Spirit to be with us while we do this quick case study, and that the rest of the semester will go well for everybody. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the first question is what made Noodles Co. an attractive opportunity for Aaron Kennedy in 1995? And I cannot talk today. So,
Okay, so what made Noodles and Company an attractive offer for, what was the person's name?
an attractive opportunity for Aaron Kennedy.
Oh, an attractive opportunity for Aaron Kennedy. Well, I think food is always an attractive opportunity because people like to eat. You can't. I think really you can't
Yeah.
go wrong with food as long as you put it in the right place.
Yeah, I think one thing that um I don't know if this is the right answer, but that I noticed from reading the case is when he went to the noodle shop that he loved in New York. He
Mhm.
loved that it was just based around noodles. Everything was about noodles. And then he realized that everybody eats noodles. It's a comfort food, it can be a diet food. Rich people eat noodles, peasants eat noodles.
Yeah.
Everybody eats noodles, basically. And for him, I think that what was so attractive about it is he's like, I can reach almost everybody if I play this right.
Well, and I think noodles also go across many different types of food because if this is Noodles and Company, is in the ones that's a national chain that still exists, I'm thinking
I'm
it is.
pretty, yeah, it is. It's the same one, I'm pretty sure.
Um, so I've eaten there lots of times, and there's kind of there's they go with the Japanese flair. You can go with the traditional Italian. You can put it in a salad. You can do all sorts of stuff. And I think they've actually kind of expanded their menu a little bit, which is a little off topic, um, but you can make it. You can take a basic noodle and you can turn it into anything. It can be
Hmm.
any flavor. It can come from any type of like ethnic ethnic food group too, of where I'm trying to think if there's noodles in Mexican, but I know that there's a big thing that went around Pinterest with little kids, which I think came off like a Nickelodeon or Disney show, which was like taco spaghetti. So it was taco seasoning put into hamburger meat, and then they added that to the spaghetti,
That
so
sounds
that
disgusting.
so it was like taco flavored spaghetti. But so I mean, really, it can go anywhere.
Yeah, no, it can. And they do like in Mexico, they eat noodles.
Yeah.
You guys had spaghetti stuff. They have like their own version of spaghetti in
Yeah.
Mexico.
Well,
Brady was telling me it's like
they have like normal spaghetti and they also have like white sauce spaghetti, which is better than the white sauce spaghetti.
they have like a white sauce spaghetti. You said, didn't you say it's like pineapples and bacon and
Mm-hmm.
cream? It's very different than what we're used to, but it's like a cream
Yeah.
sauce. Well, at least one dish they have is like a cream sauce with pineapple in it. To me,
Sounds
that actually
interesting.
sounds pretty good. I think I would like it, but anyways, that's kind of not even has anything to do with this case. But yeah, I mean, it reaches everybody. Everybody loves noodles. Brought up later in the case is because noodles is eaten worldwide,
Mhm.
potentially they want to grow into become an international company. They want to open up chains in Europe and everywhere,
Yeah.
basically.
And I think noodles is a strong base to have because, as we've been talking about, you can take it and kind of turn it into anything.
Hmm. Hey, Zach, we just started. Sorry, I just got your text too.
Oh, it's okay. I found my way in.
Okay.
Here I am.
Good. We just started. We're just going over question one, basically, is all we've really talked about.
Okay, let me pull up
Questions
the.
up. Or I can just restate it too.
No, I'll pull them up right now.
Okay.
I got it. All right, so we just did number one, then going on to number two.
Yeah, unless
Well,
you
do you
can,
want to answer number one real quick?
and so yeah, you can comment on number one if you want.
Um, I guess just back then, Noodles and Company, there wasn't like the model that it uses wasn't quite as established, is what is the impression I got. Because like Noodles and Company is kind of in between fast food tier, where it's not quite the like crappy Wendy's BK caliber, but it's not really at a sit down restaurant either. It's kind of like a more upper end, huh?
Yeah, I was just gonna say how
Uh,
they kind of created their own market segment where it's not fast food
right.
and not sit down.
Yeah, and like now you see a lot of those. I mean, now you have Chipotle and you have, Cafe Rio and like a bunch of other places that kind of follow that similar demographic. But I think that's one of the main things is that I think he had a unique vision for a new kind of like fast food type model. Um, Obviously, there's also the idea that there wasn't like a similar type of restaurant like Noodles specifically. So there's also that. So yeah, I think there's just some good opportunity that wasn't being fulfilled at the time.
I think it's kind of funny, and I know it's legally not probably a problem, but he kind of stole that one restaurant's idea. Like he got his whole idea from this little corner noodle company, like noodle joint he went to that did exactly what he then went to do on a bigger plate. But I thought that was kind of funny. I was like, if I was that restaurant owner, I'd be kind of mad. But
Yeah, I
I
read I
think
read another.
majority of things come that way though, is that somebody takes something and goes, oh, how can I improve on this and make it better?
yeah.
Yeah, I read another case study where this Italian restaurant was basically about them copying a restaurant that, and it like it was like glorifying it, even though it totally just seemed like a ripoff. Um,
Yeah.
but whatever.
Well, it's kind of like how I feel like Starbucks has done that, because like in Utah there was a place called Beans and Brews that I don't know if it was local or if it was a franchise or something like that, but they had treats. You could get pastries, you could get coffee, and it was a sit down place that people went and hung out at, and like I think Starbucks kind of copied that whole idea and just made it like international. They just franchised and branded themselves like correctly to be able to make it popular. But how many coffee shops did they technically copy? Like all of them? That whole concept. They just figured out how to make it a household name as opposed to just being another local coffee shop.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right, should we move on to number two?
Yes, please.
All right.
Yes.
So it says, what caused the company's early struggles? Why do you think so? The early struggles just came from inexperience. Nobody in his like starting team had worked in this kind of a food industry. I mean, the best they had was their Pizza Hut guy. And
Yeah,
so
I think yeah, I think like mismanagement was kind of a big issue. I think it was several factors. I think they had a good idea and they just weren't executing it that well. Like their food wasn't that good supposedly, and just the
yeah.
way they ran things, they were running into problems. I think it's really telling that they had that meeting where they found like 15 problem points, and once they just started just addressing those, it got better. So I think that, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is just inexperience in mismanagement, which luckily they were able to patch up.
Yeah, and I feel like
Well,
they kind of did. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Vanessa.
I was just gonna say they also kind of didn't have. I mean, yeah, there's been lots of restaurants, there's been lots of things, but they kind of found like created their own little niche of like that semi-fast food. And if other people, they didn't have anything to kind of mimic off the assembly lines or how to make it quickly, they were kind of inventing it on their own. So that can create a lot of problem too, because people just don't understand it. It wasn't something that you could hire somebody to be like, oh yeah, I worked over at Chipotle, I get this whole thing, because that wasn't around.
Yeah, it was kind of a double whammy with none of them really experienced in food. And then the new market segment that they were trying to open up to. But I don't know. I feel like they did jump into it really quickly. Necessarily a bad thing, but it's like they went and did the food tour in Chicago, experiencing a lot of issues with the restaurant and the quality of the food and everything. And then they learned a lot there. And I think, well, if they would have gone and done that, they opened up their restaurant, it probably would have saved them a lot of hassle and problems that they did face.
Yeah, I think they kind of jumped into it really quickly. Like even without all the capital they need, like they're always raising money and stuff, but the guy took out a mortgage and they maxed out like 7 credit cards and like it's pretty committed, and it's good that they were ultimately committed because they ended up being able to save it. But yeah, I think just not having a ton of experience and just launching something that's unprecedented, and especially with food, because I feel like at least I've heard that food is one of those industries where you think you know how to do it, but unless you have experience doing it, you're going to run into a lot more problems than you ever anticipated.
Yeah, I know, I agree with that.
And I think food is also one of those things too, of where if you're not putting it in the right location at the right time, you're going to be in trouble. Like you can have a great product, but if you don't have easy access to like off the freeway in an area that's highly populated, you know, something of where you kind of have to really research your demographic and your location of where you put anything.
Yeah, and they learned that with their Wheat Ridge store, which didn't they say it was by a Walmart and like next to a smoking shop, and it just wasn't getting the demographic that they wanted.
The wrong location.
Yeah, location is key when it comes to, I mean, I think even you could have, I think there's places that have crappy food, but because of the location that they're at, it doesn't matter. People will still eat there because it's convenient. And I remember watching something, I can't remember what it was, but I think it was something on the news, and it was talking about the restaurant industry. And if you can get a person to come back to your establishment after the 3rd time, you've got pretty much a lifer, because like their first time that they come in, there's a 12% chance that they'll come back. The second time they come in, it like raises to like 30% or something. And then the 3rd time they come in, it raises to like 70%. And I probably skewed on the numbers a little bit, but it really is, you have to have like this really good, you know, thing to be able to get them to come back. And convenience and location is probably, I would say, almost more than food quality, but that's my opinion.
Oh yeah, I think for sure. I think it's a factor of both, but for restaurants, I think knowing your demographic and putting in the right place is definitely a huge part of it. Because if you can get that right, sometimes you can float by with food that's not even as good.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you're presenting it well to the people.
Like Applebee's. They have crappy food, but they're always in good location.
Okay, well, should we keep going?
Okay, what's the next question?
Should franchising play in the company's growth?
I think franchising is a good thing, but also a bad thing. It's good because McDonald's has shown how franchising can be very, very well. Same thing with Subway. That they've, you know, created a marketing plan. It's solid because they know it's going to work because it's worked before, and it can work well. But then you kind of sometimes run into trouble of where you get people who are just bad managers of franchises, and they give your company a bad name.
Right. Tiffany, you good? Are you hearing this?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know why I have 2 icons on here either.
Okay, just want to make sure you were.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did your guys' call end, or did it keep going?
It kept going.
No, it kept going. You just dropped out.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Dropped out, but good that the call didn't end.
Yeah, it kept going. It didn't end.
Yeah, you're good. And Vanessa, I agree with your points. I think I think in a lot of cases, franchising is a really good choice, but I'm a little apprehensive of it for Noodles right now because, again, we're talking about at this time, they had a very specific vision of how they presented themselves
Yeah.
and the type of quality that distinguished them from other fast food.
Yeah.
And I would be concerned that franchising, you would maybe lose that commitment to quality with a lot of managers. Um,
Yeah.
I think, if it were me, I would want the restaurant to grow a little bit more and have the whole world, or at least country, like be familiar with the idea before you start franchising, because then when people, I think they would have a better idea of what they're getting into. But on the other
And
hand, like you said, it's a really good way to grow.
it really is a good way to grow, but I think that it doesn't work as well if you don't already have like an established, and I don't know the exact words, I'm probably throwing in stuff that doesn't make any sense, but an established marketing plan, an established, you know, a standard operating procedures, standard looks of the store, or the restaurant, and also make sure that everything is just, it works and it works well, and you've proved it over and over and over again. Because I think that's the reason why McDonald's works. That's why like Chick-fil, I don't think Chick-fil-A franchises, but I think that's the same reason why
They
Subway
do.
works, is because of the fact that they have like that solid package. That whole package is there, and it doesn't need to change. I don't think that they allow their franchise owners to come in and argue and say that, look, I want my store to look this. They go, this is how you buy it. You buy the package. And until they have that solid package, I wouldn't franchise.
Right.
I feel like it's kind of an issue both ways. The rate they want to expand, are we going to be able to get general managers that will uphold our standards and culture? Are we going to be able to find those kind of general managers that quickly? Franchise. So I mean, I was kind of like in the middle. I don't really know if franchising is the best or not, but I think that no, either way they go, they need to just have a very strict code
Yeah.
and what's not allowed.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think either option could work really well for them if they just play their cards right. Um, if I had to choose one, I would say I don't think they should franchise right now, but they should plan for it and
Mm-hmm.
implement it a little bit later. Because I mean, you look at some restaurants like In-N-Out, and In-N-Out is like extremely famous. I mean, everyone on the West Coast knows about it. It's gotten to Utah and some other states, but they're like super slow growing. Um, every location they open up, they make sure everything is exactly how they want it. Um, and they're doing just fine. I personally think that Noodles isn't in a position where they need to branch out so much to make all the money when they could be doing it a little slower and making sure it's all really good and still getting a lot of money.
Yeah, no,
But
I
I'm not
agree
really a
with that.
greedy capitalist, so
Yeah, no, I
yeah,
agree with that. I mean, if it's working the way it's working with their growing, then maybe it's not quite time for them to take that step. I mean, they might not even need to worry about working with a capitalist either if they're able to bring in enough revenue.
yeah. Um, yeah, and I guess we kind of covered four, because both those questions are kind of about franchising.
Question number 4.
Yeah. I mean, it says what are the specific advantages and disadvantages, including financial, economic, and organizational consequences. I think we kind of covered those, right?
Yeah, I think we
To
already discussed those. I think that
Okay.
when we talked about the pluses and minuses of doing it both ways. So yeah, I think we covered it.
All right.
Yeah.
Should we do a quick summary?
Yeah, let's do
Sure.
it. Um, okay.
So as we went through this case, basically our conclusion that they should hold off on franchising. It should definitely be a plan for in the future. But as of right now, just to keep growing the way they're growing or to look at a different way to finance the company. But it doesn't seem to be something that's needed right now. And with management being a high priority of theirs and culture, we want to make sure that Noodles and Company is able to solidify that culture before they open up to franchising.
I think that works.
Good. I agree.
Did she just cut out again?
Maybe.
Because I cut out for a minute there too.
I didn't cut out,
I
but
think the internet's revolting.
Tiffany's icon is frozen.
Okay.
Uh, but I think we're good, right?
I think we're good too. So let's disconnect and maybe it'll unmake us or unlive us. So.
Okay. All right. Well,
Okay.
I will see you next time.
Okay. Have a great night.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Sorry about that.